Well, I have with me today Simon Tucker, who's the Chief Executive of the Young Foundation. And this is an organisation which has been developing a wide range of activities around the field of social entrepreneurship. So Simon, thank you very much for talking with us. I wonder if you could start by telling us a little bit about the Young Foundation.
Yes, so the Young Foundation is, we're a non-profit organisation and we're a centre for social innovation. So we seek to generate insights into how to innovate to solve social problems, and then we seek to bring together innovation and entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship to actually solve those problems or contribute to solving them by coming up with our own innovations that we either pilot in the public sector and hope that it will be taken up there, or most of the time by creating our own ventures that we spin out. Alongside that, we will incubate other people's ventures if they have an innovative model that we believe could be taken up at scale and have big impact. So we cut across both research, but mainly some very practical incubation and venturing.
Fantastic. And you've accumulated a lot of experience by the sound of it. Could you perhaps give us some examples of projects that you've been involved with that the Foundation has either developed itself or has helped someone else incubate?
Yes, so we're about 55 years old and we have a lot of ventures. We've created over 80 ventures and we've supported over 100 other people's ventures. And they range from, in the dim distant past, the Open University, Which Magazine, the School for Social Entrepreneurs, Language Line, which was the first telephone translation service in the UK, which is now a for-profit multi-million-pound company, through to more recently. I'll give you some examples of things we've done. One is called Studio Schools. It's a new model school that we developed to teach enterprising behaviours alongside academic and vocational qualifications. That's an idea we developed in-house, and we now have 2 schools open and another 25 in the pipeline. And they're all public schools, so as in state-funded schools, either free schools or academies. And we've created a separate organisation to act as the almost like a franchisor for those schools. So that's one model that's pretty much in the public sector, although they're independent. At the other end of the spectrum, we have the School of Everything, which is an organisation we have incubated, which is a web-based platform that allows anyone who wants to learn something find somebody willing to teach it, either for free or for payment. So this could be anything from your traditional language lessons, yoga classes, musical instruments, through to obscure things that you cannot get taught by a college, or the latest, how to use the latest IT packages that colleges find hard to keep up to date with. But it could also be how do you get involved in planning decisions in your local area, or how do you self-publish a book, or anything like that. And that's an example of something where people came to us saying they wanted to set up a charity to do this. We convinced them that actually they needed a for-profit business model because they needed to raise quite a lot of capital, and charitable foundations don't understand the web as a whole. So we helped them form a for-profit company. They raised about £1.5 million from angel investors, including some of the leaders in the early stage of the internet in the US, some European investors and some UK investors, and we invested and incubated this ourselves. And it's now a global platform, quite a lot of users in the US and the UK in particular, and we're now talking to venture capital firms about them making another round of investment to take it forward. Wow. So that's 2 things. And then we have one thing we specialise in is ventures that have as their paying customer the state in various ways. Because in the UK now, increasingly we're having provider functions being spun out of the state, and therefore big markets there, particularly on the areas we care about, such as health, education, communities, criminal justice. So, for example, we've been working on a venture called NeuroResponse, which is a joint venture with University College London Hospitals Trust, one of the leading neurological centres in the UK, on a service that one of their nurses came up with, which is very simple technology. It's email, video conference and telephone support line. But by using all of those to provide a service to multiple sclerosis patients in the first instance, it allows those patients to come into hospital much less, get diagnosis and consultations in their own home, and catch relapses much earlier, so they can be much less serious if they're dealt with quickly. And it reduces their anxiety because they're not left in a state of not really understanding what's going on. This is a very expensive group of patients for the NHS, so just transporting someone with advanced MS to a consultation is very expensive. And if we can cut that down, we stand to save the NHS a lot of money, which is what's behind the business model underlying this. So this is currently a business unit within the hospital, and shortly will be spun out as a social enterprise and taken nationally. At the moment it just operates in London.
Yeah. That's a wonderful...
range of the kind of thing we do.
That's a wonderful example. Can you talk just a little bit more about how that process might have worked? So there's a nurse who comes up with a great idea, but she's, by definition, not necessarily an entrepreneur. She's a very good nurse by the sound of it. How does that work, and where and how could you get involved to help that?
So I think we're quite unique in bringing three sets of expertise to bear. The first is what many other incubators bring, which is business skills. So we have people here who've come out of the private sector, from consultancies, from venture capital, and we have a wider range of associates with those skills. So we, in this case, help the nurse with the business plan, thinking about the investment requirement, all of the things you typically get in a private sector business plan. But the next set of expertise we bring is how to operate in the public sector. From the political level, ministers and policymakers, down to the commissioners and how they work. And because we understand that system, we can help our ventures tailor their services for the paying customer, the state, as well as for their end beneficiaries, which people coming from the private sector find very hard to do, typically have that kind of experience. Because we also do quite a lot of advisory work for the public sector, which gives us the knowledge of how you work within it. So that's the third set of expertise. So in this case, we had a nurse who was in the public sector, but she didn't really understand how to get things commissioned, because that's not part of her job. So we could help her develop the business case to put to commissioners, have the conversations in the right language and so on, and meet their requirements to get a commission. We also have had to do quite a bit of delicate negotiation, because this new business cannibalises the business of the hospital we're working with to some extent, because it reduces the amount of time patients spend in hospital beds, which the hospital is paid. And she was not in a position to negotiate around that at all. It's far too junior and so on. So we have helped with that, and the hospital has been very good about it, although it's been quite time consuming. So that's the second set of expertise. The third set is understanding the nature of social need and the end beneficiaries. We do quite a bit of ethnographic research in our research arm. So we're quite good at bringing the user perspective to bear, and we've quite a lot of expertise in bringing users into the design process early on, which has a really big impact on how services are designed. Even in this, as in this case, the entrepreneur was a frontline nurse. We could still bring some insights that she didn't have from her day job to bear on this. And I think getting ventures off the ground in this space, which used to be the public sector essentially, is particularly tricky, because you do need all three of those kinds of expertise. And that's what we've tried to specialise in doing, bringing those together.
I mean, that sounds very interesting in the context of this, inverted commas, big society approach, which we hear a lot about, and potentially has a lot going for it. But it would require that kind of expertise, I guess, to translate good things that are happening into viable, not just nice ideas, but viable and workable ideas.
I think we're at the very early stages of creating a really vibrant, effective marketplace for providers of these kind of services. And there's a lot of work to do to build up that field. So at the moment we have a lot of public services being put out into the private or third sector, but we have the sort of social enterprise or third sector isn't really set up to take on all of this extra work. It's being used to a much smaller market.
Yeah.
So that sector has to up its game to professionalise and build the capabilities to deliver at scale. At the same time as the public sector needs to understand how to be an intelligent customer. So we do quite a lot of work advising commissioners on how to move from currently the widespread practice of just trying to drive down the price of services and worrying about the transaction to actually thinking about the long-term relationship they have with a set of providers and how they build a more competitive marketplace for the services they want. So they're not in a situation where they effectively cannot decommission a service because there's no alternative.
Yes.
And where they're paying enough that the enterprises can reinvest in building their own capabilities. So taking the long-term view rather than the short-term view.
That's fascinating.
So I think there is a lot of potential in the whole big society thing, and it's not particularly new under this government, although what is new is the pace of market liberalisation, I think.
Yeah. And one thing that also strikes me, and that came across in the example of the nurse you just gave, the role of technology. In a sense, we're also seeing new technologies and perhaps social trends which are making innovation a much more open and collective process.
Yes, absolutely. So you've got the whole open data thing. This government has been particularly keen on the releasing of data sets held by the public sector for use by anybody, which is creating the prospect of a whole new range of services, which is very exciting. Then, particularly in healthcare, you've got all these new technologies coming in. But we're particularly interested in the old technologies, actually. In email, not that old, but older than the cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah.
Mobile phones, telephone, etc. If you look back to the Open University, the business model behind that was using unused airtime on BBC Two initially.
That's right. Yeah.
To get the broadcast out to a wide range of people. We were interested in solutions that take that approach. Television then wasn't a new technology, but it was one that hadn't actually been rolled out, hadn't reached maturity, hence the available airtime. So with our neuroresponse nurse service, we've switched from, in the NHS generally, there are telephone helplines, but they tend not to be staffed by specialist nurses, and you tend to have to leave a message on an answering machine, and you get a call back, which might be within a few hours or a few days, and that can really make a big difference
For sure.
to a patient in a particular situation. Our helpline is answered within 3 calls by a specialist nurse who gives you advice then and there. So this is not something that technologists get excited about at all, but it is building the service around the technologies.
Yeah.
A technology in itself is completely useless without a service, without it influencing the way services are designed.
One question which, given the Foundation's extensive experience in innovation, one question which would be really interesting to get your views on is where the barriers might be to would-be entrepreneurs, particularly social entrepreneurs. What should they watch out for? What are the roadblocks?
I think the first thing is it's important to be ambitious when you start out. I do think there is a lack of ambition among social entrepreneurs, which may be a controversial thing to say. There are not that many social entrepreneurs that start out thinking they're going to have a national organisation. They tend to think locally first. And if you don't think national from the beginning, you never will be national, I think it's fair to say. Now, Starbucks did not start out as a community coffee shop, and then they thought they'd add 1 or 2. It started out with the idea they will dominate America, if not the world. And it meant they had to start with just 1 store to try things out, but the intention was always to go much further. So the first barrier actually is the mental one of the entrepreneur themselves. I think in the UK in particular it's not difficult to get grant funding at the very earliest stage in small amounts for it to be a social entrepreneur. The next barrier is you need to run some kind of pilot that gives you the right evidence to then go to funders or to potential paying customers if it's a business to business or a business to state service. And going from pilot to the next stage is particularly hard hard because you get into all kinds of things beyond just the rational discussion about whether this works or doesn't work. In the social sector, it's important not just to be a great business person, but also to be able to work in the sort of a more political, the small p world of understanding the interests, beliefs, needs of investors or public sector customers and how you can fit in with those. So you've almost got to be a good business person and a good civil servant at the same time, which is very, very hard.
That's a complicated mix, yes. Yeah.
And then there is a problem after that of scaling things up at scale. And the problem comes in a number of forms. If you're a venture, you're an enterprise, the legal structure you choose can limit how you bring in money. And obviously the less constraints you have, the easier it is to raise money. There's much more money available from capital markets or from the private sector than there is from foundations or even from social investors. And at the moment there's not very much money in the kind of $500,000 plus amounts. Not much money available at all. If you're not doing a venture, if you're an entrepreneur within the public sector, the main barrier is there are not very well defined paths to scale things up. I think the default model in the public sector is communication. You sort of shout about what you do and you hope other people will be listening and will take it up and copy you. Yeah. And you hope when they copy, they'll kind of get it right and take the best elements and adapt to local circumstances. I think it's a highly inefficient way to spread anything. And we still have very local markets for things. So going back to the health sector, up until this year, you'd have had to sell your services to every primary care trust, and they would have different considerations. And the fact you've been successful in one area really doesn't mean you'll break into another area. They all have their pet local projects they support. The NHS virtually doesn't decommission anything. And very, very low decommissioning rates. So there's not the space to bring on the new things. And that's now going to go to GPs, but the same problem, if not worse, will be there because the GP clusters are smaller groups than the primary care trust. So it is incredibly hard. On the other hand, it is all getting easier. We are seeing a lot of market liberalisation. And from talking to social investors, and we've just done a piece of research on the social venture intermediary landscape, so all the people that support social ventures in different ways, from money to skills, etc. And with the exception of 1 out of 40 that we interviewed, they said that a major limiting factor for them was the quality of ventures that they were seeing. Which means that if you have a really good quality venture, there'll be a lot of investors and people out there who want to help you make it happen.
That sounds like great news, yeah.
Yes.
That's brilliant. Perhaps I could then just ask one last question which kind of follows a bit from that. If you were to distill all that you and the Foundation have learned, and it sounds like an awful lot, into perhaps 3 bullet points, classic academic bullet points, but 3 sort of messages for would-be entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, people starting something from outside or within a large organisation, what would your 3 messages, your bits of advice be?
I'd say, first of all, get out there and just do it. Don't spend too long thinking about it. The best way to refine your innovation or your new business is to talk to people that might buy it, rather than have some kind of intellectual debate with yourself. The second thing is to seek out your harshest critics and listen very carefully to what they have to say. But the last thing is that always treat no as a question. You shouldn't be set back by people. People will give you all kinds of reasons why what you're doing will not work and how it's been done 1,000 times before, and etc., etc. You've got to take that as an inquiry about what you're doing and whether you've got it quite right or not. But don't let it stop you. Carry on going.
That's a lovely point to finish on. Thank you very much, Simon. I really appreciate it. And if people want to know more about the Foundation, they can find out via your website.
They can come to youngfoundation.org or socialinnovator.info, which is our international website.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Not at all. Thank you.